because one of the key vectors of attack for the enemy is to control how our history is perceived. It's very important that our narratives about history are proliferated as opposed to the narratives of the enemy, because through controlling the historical understanding of Australian people, of our own country, they control the political understanding of our people, of who was wronged, what motivated what, and so on. And they don't want you to know about the thought process of our founding fathers, because our founding fathers were white nationalists, and they don't want you becoming a white nationalist. So they purposefully don't teach that to you in school. They teach you a list of historical atrocities, and to kind of pathologize our entire history, as opposed to, again, our founding fathers were not these kind of hateful supremacist types who just wanted to dominate other races and enslave them. It was the opposite. They thought that kind of non-white slave labor or cheap labor would deprive the average white man in Australia of an honest day's pay for a hard day's work. And that's why they were against it. And they also didn't want the white Australians to live in communities full of non-whites. They wanted us to have our own communities, have our own country with just us in it, so that it could reflect more perfectly and more purely our way of life. And so this is not an ideology of domination, quite the opposite. It's an ideology of separation and self-preservation. So it's fundamentally morally defensible. There is no really coherent moral argument against it, because any other race that makes these same demands, no one considers it immoral. It's only when white people do that it is pathologized. And so these are very important things to internalize and to learn, so that you can teach people who are part of the way towards our worldview. They aren't all the way to our worldview, but they're part of the way, but they still have some leftist ideas about race in their mind, to massage them towards our worldview, and to bring them into a richer understanding of themselves.
What you just mentioned was a catalyst for me beginning to think the way I did. And that is recognizing that it was all right to be racist to white people, and it was all right to be discriminatory against men. And I noticed this in primary school. It was even encouraged by some teachers. But it wasn't okay to make derogatory comments about, the Asian kid or the Indian kid. Like, that was horrible. You could do it against white people and no one cared, but, it worked one way but not the other. It was a huge double standard. And I can't see how anyone can be okay with that. A, how has nobody else recognized that? And B, how does that sit okay with you? How is that justified? I saw that as a great injustice when I was young, and me being white myself, it was obviously in my interests to not subscribe to a system like that. So